Okay, today I'm going all the way back, everybody, all the way back to 1979, and a memory of a song that I loved. I absolutely did. I felt there was a punk era coming in to the music scene. I used to watch a weekly program on the BBC. Now, here's a memory for everybody called Top of the Pops, and it gave the European English and even Irish artists who were doing well in England a chance to play their music once a week to a wide audience of millions of people. And one of the artists was this particular person, and she was called Lene Lovich, and her song was Lucky Number. And I still sing. I don't think I'll ever forget it. When you have an artist and a catchy song, you don't forget it, do you? It doesn't matter what decade, the 80s, the 90s. Come on, we've all got our favourites. I'm sure you'll put them in the comments. But mine in 79, turning into the wonderful era that was the 80s, was this particular woman. And along with her was Susie and the Banshees. There's another great name. There was Blondie, and there was a catalogue of 80s, not reminiscent, more known for their music in the 80s, because they were kind of launched 78, 79, going into the 80s, if that makes sense. And she was one of them, this particular artist. Phenomenal in her own right, still going strong. I believe she's still going strong. I haven't heard otherwise. And just set up her own record label, did lots of other things. So I think it's worth going into, people of my age group, 50 plus, who remember this song, worth going into a little bit of bio about the woman herself to teach people today. We grew up with the 70s, 80s, into the 90s. I kind of wasn't a 90s fan. 2000 wasn't. And then more recently, in the last 15 years, I've become a fan again of the music scene. But one of the ones in the turn of the late 70s into the 80s was this artist. She was called Lily Marlene Primovich, known professionally as Lene Lovich, and an American British singer. She first gained attention in 79 with the release of her hit single, which we're about to hear, Lucky Number. It peaked at number 3 in the UK singles charts and made her a leading figure of the new wave music scene. And she was also known for, it was categorized as pop art and a light version of punk rock, that kind of era. Hence Susie and the Banshees and herself led the way. And she was born in Detroit, Michigan. Lovich moved to England at the age of 13, where she met guitarist, songwriter Les Chappell, who became her longtime music collaborator and life partner. And she developed an interest in art, theatre, and went on to play the saxophone. And then it says, released a couple of albums, a couple of songs, and one of the songs from one of the albums was Lucky Number from Stateless. Stateless was released 1978, and then this came off it. Now, she released 2 more albums in 79 and No Man's Land in 82 on Stiff Records. But in 1989, the woman decided to go independently and released the album March before her 15-year hiatus, which is when you take an absent break from whatever you're doing for X amount of years. And she took 15 years away, focused on her family, came back in 2005 with the release of her album Shadows and Dust. And drum roll for this, in 2013 she established her own publishing label, Flex Music, and released a remastered version of all her previous albums in a limited edition box set. Now, I actually have a little bit of information on that. I thought that would be interesting to share with people. And it is a 4 CD box, toy box, the stiff years 1978 to 1983. And it just graced the charts in both the UK and the US with a quirky brand of delivery during the start of rock's direction and style change, which happened in the 70s, and then suddenly we had the 80s, and that was a whole different ball game. But she survived the 80s, she survived the 90s right up. That's the background to her. She kept going till she got her own record label. And I think empowerment to all women of her stature within the music industry. She should be in the Hall of Fame. She should be. Let's take a listen. And the song itself, I'll give you a rundown, just a summary about the song, and that's it. There'll be no detailed breakdown of the lyrics. There's no need to. You'll understand why when you listen, and then you'll understand why it was so catchy in my head. Enjoy. So everybody, when you come to the song itself, you say to you, and I'm going to definitely go back, I'm not going to have that as all these things that come up.
Hundreds of thousands of Sudanese refugees have fled to Chad to escape an ever-worsening humanitarian crisis.
So there she is, Lucky Number, the song. Now you can understand why everybody, it's just so addictive. Let's get into what the song means. And the song Lucky Number, and you'll notice it changed from number 1 to number 2, and I'll explain that. It's just a quirky song about numbers in our lives. And Lene is portraying a protagonist who's always been independent, self-sufficient, and never felt the need for anybody else's help, which she proved in setting up her own record label and empowering herself and saying to her competitors, I'm going to do this. And she's done it very well. And those numbers proclaim their lucky number is 1. This is what she proclaims in the beginning. She takes pride in having control over her life. But as you've seen, however, something starts to change as she senses an alien presence then, and a mysterious force in the air. And it starts making her go, ooh, 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 ooh. Hence the catchphrase, ooh, 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 my lucky number 2, because she jumps to number 2. But in the beginning, it's about what's affecting her. Her heart's changing, her mindset's changing, the desire to be with a new love interest. It's all changing. And the song does end on a joyful note because she declares that number 2 that we've talked about and expresses her happiness. Wow, I found somebody, in other words. And finding somebody she wants to stay with, not just short term. She sees the future. So the song is about all of that, and it's about the power of love, the way it can affect us. You know, we're on number 1 here. Will I ever make it to number 2? Well, she did. And it's about priorities and putting them into place to make that happen in your life. And not just wishfully think it, you know, make it, control your life to make it happen. Open the door. And if there was negativity before, get rid of it to allow a fresh approach to the next person coming along. The song also touches on the idea of fate. It's love is all about fate, isn't it? And the role that numbers can play in our lives. I know there's an old saying about when you go through a lot of people, that's like another notch on your bed. But that's a bit silly. It's a bit outdated and crude. I think numbers is a better way of looking at it. Well, I had number 1. Oh, I had number 2. If it takes you to go through 10 to get that lucky number in your life, number 11 is my man or my woman. May it be. Just keep the doors open to allow them to come through till you eventually find your lucky number. Mine was lucky number 3. I had a very beautiful relationship, then a narcissist, violent, horrific relationship, and then I've had the last 16 years in a beautiful relationship. So mine was 1 and 3. And number 2 is not my favorite number for those reasons. So I hope you discover your lucky number. It's an upbeat song about all of that and the power of numbers in our lives. May you always choose my channel as number 1 for the reactions and come back to hear more of this wonderful artist and more 70s, 80s music over 2025. Yes! 5 is my lucky number, so if it's incorporated in 2025, I feel lucky already. Talk soon. Have a wonderful new year. Wonderful Easter, summer 2025. And hopefully we'll all be sitting here Christmas 25 going into 26 and so on. Talk soon.